Hi everyone, I am here with a review of Cello Lesson 3, and this lesson was all about using our left hand fingers to create new notes on the D string. So before we look at our lesson book homework, let's just take a minute to review some of those notes that we learned in our lesson. So the first thing that's really important is your thumb placement, your left thumb placement. And everyone should have a sticker on the very back of the neck of their cello. It's really important that this thumb just stays right in this spot as you're fingering different notes. People tend to be tempted to go like this and kind of create a thumbs up. That makes it really challenging to play the notes we're about to learn. So make sure it's right on that dot and it's just staying there nice and relaxed. Okay? Also going to make sure that we have nice rounded fingers as we place them on the strings. Okay, and I'll show you right now that for the moment, we're not going to be using our second finger to create a note. However, whenever our third finger goes down, the second finger will go with it. So we're going to have a note that uses one finger, a note that uses three fingers, and a note that uses four fingers. Okay. So I'm going to have my nice posture that we've been working on. Make sure my feet are spread apart, that my C peg is near my left ear. I'm going to set my thumb back here, and my fingers are ready to go. If I play the open D string, the note that it plays, of course, is D. If I put one finger down, that note is now called E. Three fingers down is called F sharp, and four fingers down is called G. This week should be pretty easy on your right hand because we're basically playing every note on the D string. So you're plucking the D string for the most part. The challenging part is with these fingers in the left hand. Let's do that one more time. So no fingers is D. One finger is E. Three is F sharp, and four is G. Okay. Looking up here at our lesson book, this is page 6, by the way, in this what's new box, says new notes G, F sharp, and E fingered with 4, 3, and 1 fingers. So that's what we just played. You might be thinking, we already learned a note called G last week, our open G string, and you are correct. But the musical alphabet only has 7 letters in it. So eventually we start repeating letters, and so you're actually going to learn many different G's, and right now you know 2 of them. So if we go down here, we're going to now look at reading the notes on the staff. Here's a staff with a bass clef, and we're looking first at this note G, and you can see that it lives in a different part of the staff than the G that we learned last week. So that's what's going to show you which G they want you to play. If it's up in this very top space, that means it's the G that's 4 fingers on the D string. Okay, going over here to F sharp, that's 3 fingers, and that's when the note is living on this 4th line. We count our lines from the bottom, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the sharp symbol over here, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay. Then we have E, which is in this 3rd space. That's 1 finger on the D string. So it's going to be really important to be able to read all of those notes on the staff. I'm going down here to number 10, which was the first part of our homework. And number 10 is called G and D tune. So that tells me that probably this is going to utilize the notes G and D. And it does. In fact, those are the only 2 notes in number 10. Here's that top space note. That's the 4 fingers on the G string, or excuse me, 4 fingers on the D string to create the note G. And then we also have open D right here. So let's go through and read our note names together. G, 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 rest, G, rest, D, 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 rest, G, rest, G, 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 rest, D, rest, D, 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 G, 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 rest. Now, before we play this, one hint that is going to make things a lot easier for you. We're starting with our 4 fingers down on the D string, okay? When you take them off to play the note open D, don't just fling your hand open like that, because then you'll have no clue where your 4 fingers are supposed to go again. I use something called helicopter or hover fingers. I think I can show you the best from this angle. When I take my fingers off, they just barely come off the strings and they're ready to go back down in the correct spot when it's time to play a note again. So keep those fingers hovered over where they're supposed to be. Also make sure that you're pressing hard enough with those fingers. I know on cello takes a little while to build up those muscles, and this note G is actually one of the hardest ones, but you should be getting a tone like this, not like this. If it sounds like that, you're probably not pressing hard enough, okay? So I'm going to get my thumb set back here, put down 1, 3, 4 fingers, okay? Get my pizzicato hand ready, and I'm going to play through number 10. Here we go. G, 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 rest. G down to D, 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 back to G, G. Good. G, 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 down to D, 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 G, 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 rest. Good, so if you got that one, we're going to move on to number 11. If not, you can go back and try that one again. Like I said, that G note is pretty challenging. It takes a lot of practice to be able to get that one. So looking for a lot of grit this week to get that G note. Now on number 11, the F sharp and D tune. Remember I said we were going to talk about that sharp symbol in a minute, and you can see how not every F has a sharp next to it. And that is because there is a rule in music that if one note in a measure, like this is a measure, has a sharp sign next to it, all of those notes are sharp. So here's an F, a sharp next to this F. So that means that all the rest of these are also sharp. Same with this measure right here. There's a sharp sign next to it, so that makes this one sharp as well. So all of the Fs we are playing are with those that third finger to make an F sharp. Let's go through and read our note names. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, I'm just going to call it F. Makes it a little bit easier than saying F sharp every time. Here we go. F, 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 rest, F, rest. D, 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 rest, F, rest. F, 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 rest, D, rest. D, 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 F, 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 rest. Good, so I'm going to check my thumb is back here ready to go. Put down my 3 fingers, okay, and remember those nice hovering fingers when you take them off of the D string to play open D. This F sharp should be a little bit easier to play than with doing that G with your pinky. So here we go with number 11. F, 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 rest, F, down to D, 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 back to F, 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 down to D, 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 F, F, F. Very good. Moving on to the next one, E and D tune. There is one sneaky note in this one before we read the note names, and it's over here. You'll probably recognize this as being your open A string. That has a tendency to catch people off guard, so I'm just warning you about that now before we get there. We're starting with this note E in this third space. Okay, and E is going to be one finger on the D string. So let's go through and read the notes for number 12. E, 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 rest, E, rest. D, 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 rest, E, rest. E, 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 rest. A, rest. D, 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 E, E, D, rest. Let's go through and play this one. We will have to pop over to the A string just for one note, but everything else is still on that D string. So get my E ready. This should be the easiest note of all to play. It's just one finger. Okay. Here we go with number 12. E, 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 rest, E, rest. D, 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 rest, E, rest. E, 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 pop over to A, back to D, 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 E, E, D, rest. Nice job. So 10, 11, and 12 are the 3 that I really want to see everyone know how to play for next week. I also said that you could try number 13 if you were feeling like you wanted a challenge. So number 13 incorporates all of the notes that we know on the D string. So we have our G's, our F sharps, our E's, and our D's. Okay, notice there are no sharps next to the F sharp note. That's because over here we have something called a key signature, and there's a sharp on the line F, and that means that all of the notes, all of the F notes for this exercise are all going to be sharp. So you often will not see the sharp sign next to them. It will just be in the key signature. So just know that for right now. Let's read the note names first. Getting a little ahead of myself here. So we're starting with G, okay? And we're going to read all the way through together right now. G, 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 F, 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 E, 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 D, 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 rest. D, 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 E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 rest. Nice work. So you probably noticed the pattern of this is that we're starting with all of our fingers on the string, and then we gradually take them off, and then we add them all back on. So that's kind of the way that this exercise goes. So I'm setting my 4 fingers down here, okay, getting ready to play the note G. This is number 13 in the lesson book. Here we go. G, 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 G down to F sharp, F, F, F down to E, 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 D, 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 rest. D, 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 up to E, 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 F, 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 G, G, G. So that was everything for this week. I hope you find this video helpful as you are practicing, and happy practicing, and I will see you at our next lesson.